I know everybody has aspirations to get better and add so many things during the summertime, but guess what? You bring all these tools back to your team and you can only use one of them. What would you wasted a whole summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever they want you to be, you be it, and you fall in love with that role, and you be the best in the world at that role, right? You win their confidence, and then you can do a little bit more, because there's a 10% gray area in the game where nobody has control, no coaches, no players, right? So you might get it with a low shot clock, 5 on the shot clock. You got to get into a step back shot. Guess what? If you're not working on that, what's going to happen when you have to shoot that low shot clock? 9 times out of 10, air ball, bad shot, block shot. But if you're working on that 10% where you put in the work after practice, you know what? If I have 40 minutes to work out, 10 of those 40 minutes, I'm going to work on my game. Things that I might not get to do in the game, but it's only 10 minutes, 10, 12 minutes of it. The bulk of my work needs to be exactly how I'm being used, because you'll go against the grain of why a team wants to pay you. Like, at the end of the day, this is a job, it's an occupation that pays you lots of money, you know, to be in a role. Why not star in that role? Why not, you know, embrace that role and be the best at it, instead of, man, you know, I need to work on my trade ball because everybody else is doing it. That's cool, but you better not waste too much time doing it, because it's going to take away from you embracing your role and falling in love with your role. You're going to more so fall in love with the 10% instead of the 90. You see, there's 90 of what your team needs you to be. Then there's 10% that you need to expand your game, right? If you work all summer on your 10%, you get back to your 90, when you get to your team, you're looking clueless, and you wonder why they want to go to a different direction. You have to evolve. If you were the man back in the day and you're not anymore and you're a role player, fall in love with that role. Don't fall in love with who you used to be, because then that gets you out the league. You have to change your game, change your style, and embrace who you are at the moment.
How do you? I wanted to ask you. You know, like a lot of teams are leaning towards these 2-way contracts.
Yep.
Instead of like, you know, like the 1-year deals. I think those are going to be out of style in a couple of years.
What, the 1 years?
Yeah, I think they're going to lean towards them 2-year deals because it's cheaper. You know, so with the, like, as far as player development, you know, all this stuff, how do you feel about that?
Well, it all depends on the level of the player, because I mean, if it's a 1-year deal for an elite player, mid-level player, that ain't gonna go out of style, because those guys are very important, you know. Those are specialists, you know, specialist scorers or specialist shooters. They're gonna be journeymen, you know. Teams are gonna use them for what they need them to be used for. And the way the NBA is going young, 2-way is gonna always be the thing. I mean, at the end of the day, 15, 14, 13, and 12th man, they ain't playing that much anyway. So you might as well get a 2-way and develop them for cheap than signing somebody who ain't going to play for that much amount of money. You know what I mean? But I think what's going to end up happening is a lot of these vets coming back and getting 10 days, playing in the G League, and being major impacts to these teams shows you that you still need vets, because it can't be the blind leading the blind. It can't be young guy leading young guy. Like, you got rookies coming in and saying, "What's up, vet?" to guys that are 25. It's like, dude, you're not a vet yet. But when you look down the line, the oldest person on the team is 26. So it's like, damn, they, like, what kind of, you know what I mean? Like, you got to have a few vets to really show them the way. Guys that's been through it, that's experienced certain things. That can be an extension of coaches, because sometimes, like, when coaches are in the coach's seat, you know, players kind of have a disconnect to, like, real life. They look at them like the police, right? Because they're the head coach, right? You can't really, but at the end of the day, you need that vet that can relay the information from the head coach to those young guys, right? And also that vet that is okay with not playing if it comes to that, right? And understand that his calling is to lead and use your experience to cut the gap for those young guys to make sure that they're better quicker than you were. You know what I mean? So definitely.
What would you say is like a wild story you've had with your training experience, like with a player or somebody?
Oh man.
I know you've had a ton. You've been in the game for some time.
I've had a ton, man, but I wouldn't say a wild story, but I think one of my favorite summers, let's just start with the Trevor Ariza situation, who was signed with OKC. OKC, was going young. So he came down to Miami. He was working with me this whole time. Didn't know what was going to happen. Was he going to get waived? Was he going to get cut? Was he going to get traded? Like whatever. They just held it out until he finally found the right situation. And he ended up getting with the Heat. I think that situation was so great because he depended on me to make sure he was as ready as he was going to get. Mm-hmm. And Miami Heat, they saluted me because they were so impressed with how in shape he was, how ready, his rhythm. He was just plug and play, and it's like he didn't miss a beat. You know what I mean? It's like he didn't miss a beat, and they were really impressed by it, and I was excited by that. And I think there was so many guys that didn't have jobs, like Brandon Knight, Justin James, Justin Anderson, Greg Monroe, what's my man's name? I can't forget it, man. Tim Frazier. A lot of these guys that were here, Isaiah Thomas, Goran Dragic, who had all situations. Mm-hmm. They all had situations, man. And to see them get back in the league and be impactful, CB Knight after so many years, get back in the league, finally wear that Dallas jersey, and then also have a 20-point game or 18-point game wearing that jersey. It was amazing. Seeing Justin Anderson come off surgery, nobody really wanted him. He came in and dominated the G League, led the G League in scoring, had multiple call-ups, was amazing, back in the league. Greg Monroe, who's been a max player in the NBA, who the NBA gave up on. They said he's not a part of the traditional bigs now. He's the old school big. Man, he got in the best shape of his life. He went in the G League. He stayed consistent, stayed solid, stacked days, multiple call-ups to multiple NBA teams and had great minutes. It was just great. Tim Frazier, same thing, got in there, multiple call-ups, had great minutes with teams. So I think it's easy to train a superstar, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what's the expectation, right? But when you have those type of guys, you got to really put in work physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Mm-hmm. So many days they don't want to come in, but you got to force them and talk to them. Some days it's just talking. Some days it's motivating, right? It ain't about just doing drills, right? I think that was the most impactful thing for me. I had an amazing time doing it, and I took the challenge, and I love it.
Thank you, my guy. Always coming through for me, man.
Yes, sir.
My dog,
man.
Remy.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, man.